Microphone, Matt.
Aaron Torres, Fox Sports. Matt, so, talking to you yesterday, on top of all of this other stuff, you are, very close to your degree, and I just wanted to know, we kind of, dismiss student athlete, it's all about the sports, but, how has this journey been for you, being on the road, managing the schoolwork with the basketball, because I can only imagine how crazy it's been.
Yeah, it's been the longest month I've ever been a part of. Every day, I'm dedicated to, being better as a player, as a teammate. But, off the court, definitely, we had the resources to get us better, in the classroom. We got tutors here. We got some free time to do whatever I got to do. Cactus AI comes through clutch, just getting organized. So, yeah, it's hard, but it's manageable.
2 seats in on the right side.
Austin Tark, East Village Times. Matt, can you take us back to the second half? You're down 14. FAU has a lot of momentum. Parrish has picked up a technical. What was the huddle looking like, and just to fight back into that game?
Yeah, we were just motivated. We've been in that position so many times throughout the year. We've always been knocked down, but the biggest thing we always do is just get back up and keep fighting. We got a lot of maturity on this team, so it was nothing to us, and we knew, we had time on our side, so we just got together and fought back, and I'm really proud of our guys.
Left side, right of the aisle. Dana, questions for student athletes? Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy. Sorry, the lighting is challenging.
Nancy Armour, USA Today. This is for Matt. I think there was a 2-minute span that you guys had 9 offensive rebounds during that rally. How big was that? You guys ended up with 1 more rebound than they did, and that's something that they've been able to do, is out-rebound teams.
Yeah, in order to win this game, we had to do all the little things, get loose balls, get offensive rebounds when we had a chance, and, that's the type of team we're made up of. We got guys that are willing to, put themselves out on a limb and make plays like that, and even when the ball's not going in, we just all trust each other, and we make second efforts, offensively and defensively. So, yeah, that's what we've been doing all year, and that's what's got us to the championship game.
Fellas, we're going to move to the right side, East Village Times.
Jaden, this is right here. Jaden, quite a homecoming. Could you just talk about, being able to have this kind of game happen in your city?
It feels good. The team played well. I think shout out to FAU, they kind of kept us down the whole game, but we found a way to win. Matt plays sensational. Lamont hitting a big shot at the end, and I think everybody contributed. I just feel great, and I think we need to get another one.
2 more questions for the student athletes. We're going to take one from Zach and then Mike up front to the left. Right now, Zach, right side, center.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Lamont, after you made the shot, you didn't look like you had much reaction. You just were you just trying to look cool, or was it almost shocked at what just happened?
A little shocked. A little shocked. Like I said, I didn't really know how big it was. We're going to the national championship. That's not things that many people do. So, like I said, I was just happy it went in. It felt good once it left my hands. So, I'm just happy we're in this position.
Final question for the student athletes, left side up front, Mike.
Lamont, Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News. When you got down into the corner along the baseline, it looked like you weren't going to be able to get a shot off, and then you made the move to the left to clear yourself. Can you say what you saw when you got to that point? Were you concerned that you were going to not have a chance to beat the clock?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, he cut me off on the baseline. It wasn't really many angles I had. So, like I said, I got to a shot I'm comfortable with, one dribble pull up. I just tried to sell that I was going to the rim, and I just rose up and hit the shot.
We want to thank Lamont, Matt, and Jaden and congratulate you guys as you move on to the national championship game. Our Aztec student athletes are going to make their way back to the locker room, which should be open until about 8:10 p.m. if you want to go for more questions and answers. Coach Dutcher will remain with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
As soon as we can get out, let's get out. Good job, Matt. Good job, Jay Lee.
We're taking questions for Coach Dutcher. We'll begin on the aisle. Just to the right, this is the back left microphone.
Jim Root from 3-Man Weave. Brian, the timeout with 36 seconds left, or maybe 40 or so, was it something you were looking for to get a 2-for-1 there and get Jaden to go really quickly so you had a chance to get the ball back?
I wanted to sideline out of bounds and take a look at a 3, but we had enough time if we didn't have the 3. Said just get it to Jaden and let him get downhill because he had just gone downhill the play before. He's a tough guard in isolation basketball, so I would have taken the 3. They did a good job. We just went to Jaden and he got downhill.
Coach on the right side. just off the aisle.
Paul Garrison, East Village Times. Coach, could you go back to, I mean, you were going offense and defense with Lamont and Darion and Matt, et cetera, and you had a timeout at the end to bring in your offensive group. I mean, what was your mindset that you wanted to let that play through the group that you had been putting in on the defensive side?
Just a feel. I just figured we'd get the ball somewhere around 7 seconds if we were lucky. I just thought at that time, let's just go downhill. I had 3 bigs in the game. I had Keshad, I think, AG, and Nate. I just told him, you 3 guys run to the rim, Lamont, you go to the basket, and we'll see what happens. And Lamont made a shot. I always say players, marches for players, not for coaches. So Lamont made a play and made an old coach look good.
Coach, we'll move to the back of the room on the right side.
Jeff Grammer, Albuquerque Journal. Dutch, about a month ago, I saw Lamont do the same thing in the pit. Obviously a little bit different from where he shot it, but I'm curious how much trust you had in that moment in you telling him just get to the basket because of what happened just a month ago.
Yeah, I told him in Albuquerque to get to the rim too, and he shot a pull-up 3 and made it. So I'll quit telling him what to do and just say, Lamont, you get the ball, and then I'll live with whatever happens. So yeah, Lamont has made, most guys dream of making one of those plays, and he's made a couple already this year, and on as big a stage as there is in the national semifinals, to make that shot was incredible. So I can't wait to go back and see it on tape.
Coach, toward the back on the left side.
Coach, Kirk Bowles from the Austin American Statesman. You have some transfers, FAU has some transfers. Because of that, are we going to just see craziness like this every year, you think, in the tournament? And does this just kind of give everybody hope?
I just think there's more parity than there's ever been, so hopefully on selection Sundays that they don't ignore mid-major conferences with really good teams, that they don't keep throwing in losing record teams from Power 5 conferences, that the mid-majors are very good. And I don't consider ourselves a mid-major. I think we're a high-major program.
In the center of the room, Coach, 2 questions.
Morgan Prickett, the Daily Aztec. Coach, the game could have looked a lot different if 9 of those free throws fell. What was kind of going through your head as some of those free throws glanced off the rim?
Just have to trust in your routine. We made enough to win. Obviously you want to make them all. And they missed a couple timely ones too. And that's basketball, that's pressure, that's game on the line. Step up and make them. And that's hard to do. It's easy to say. It's never the same as shooting 100 on your own in the gym. You shoot it in the stadium with a game on the line. Those are hard to make.
Same area in the room.
Justin Cox, Daily Aztec, right here, Coach. Down the stretch of last week's game against Creighton, you went away from Matt Bradley. What does that say about him to come in today and have that type of impact that he had?
It's just, I put on the board again, be fearless. And he was fearless. He was going to shoot himself into this game. And the first one went in, and that always makes you feel good to see the first one go in, and then he got rolling. So he's a dangerous offensive player. He can create his own shot, and he's a very good passer too. So it was good to see Matt rolling.
On the left side of the room, right of the aisle, Nancy.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Dutch, what did you think when you guys got down by 14? That's kind of been a theme, at least lately, for you guys. Were you confident as they were, and what did you say to them in the huddle at that point?
I just kept telling them, even at halftime, that Florida Atlantic plays how they play. They're up-tempo, they're fast, they're going to take open shots. So I didn't feel as if they were going to try to slow the game down and grind it out. I knew they'd continue to play aggressive basketball. And thank goodness for us, they missed a few shots, and we got a few stops and got back in the game.
2 more questions for Coach Dutcher. We'll take one right there, right side.
Yeah, Dean Straka, 24/7 Sports. Brian, just wanted to ask, going back to Lamont, can you kind of recall what you remember about him during your time recruiting him as a player before he came to San Diego State?
Lamont Butler was the all-time leading scorer at his high school, Long Beach Poly, and Reggie Miller played there. So that ought to tell you that he can put it in the basket. So we knew what we were getting in Lamont. We were getting a leader. We're getting a tough, hard-nosed kid, and he has an ability to score the ball when he needs to.
We're going to go to the right side, right of the aisle.
Hey, Coach Dan McQuaid, Defector Media. When you scored that 2 with 37 seconds left, do you consider fouling there with that little time left when you're going to get it back?
I think with the 7-second differential, I thought we'd have enough time to get up the floor. Usually you get 1 dribble per second if you're going up the floor. So I figured we had enough time to get 6 or 7 dribbles to head up the floor, and I don't know how many he took, but it was probably close to that.
One bonus question for us, Coach, all the way back into the left, Myron.
Brian, your father, Jim, started coaching in 1966 at Eastern Michigan. Here you are in the national championship game. What do you think it means to him and just to be a part of that coaching tree to get to this national championship game?
I know he's proud of me like any father would be proud of a son. So I'm happy that he got to watch it. Hopefully he'll be here Monday for the game. He's a little under the weather, but I told him we're going to win, Dad, so you can come in for the championship. So hopefully that happens.
We want to thank and congratulate Coach Dutcher. Coach, we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody.
This is the Bandyman Bailey Lauer. I'd like to thank you for listening to the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared. We're going to move on to UConn's press conference after their win over the Miami Hurricanes in the Final Four.
Congrats, Coach.
With the Hall of Famer Gino.
Just all over our identity today. Plus 9 on the glass. Obviously, the turnovers at times got a little bit sloppy, but we were, sitting on that 20-plus assist number. We're, hurting them on the inside, hurting them, from the perimeter. Obviously, the defense was the key, though. Being able to, the effort that these guys gave defensively was unbelievable. What Adama did in his matchup, with one of the most physical interior guys we faced. What Tristan was able to do in terms of his floor game in his first half in particular. And then this guy next to me, who's felt like death the last 2 days, to be able to give us what he gave us is these performances are why we're moving on.
Both locker rooms are now open, just so everyone knows, and we're going to take questions for the UConn student athletes. If you have a question for Jordan, Adama, or Tristan, please raise your hand. Let's start in the back on the left. Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Sweetie, Sports Illustrated. This is for Adama. The 2 threes in the first half and then the pump fake drive layup in the second. Yeah. What did those plays say about how different your game is today than it was a year ago?
Like you said, this is something that I work on all the summer, especially shooting. I know a lot of guys, they don't respect my shot, so soon I saw him dropping, and I wait second to see if he gonna close out, and he didn't close out. I was like, all right, this is my shot, and I took my time and I shoot it. For sure, some team that gonna watch this game, they're gonna start respecting my shot, so I think that's gonna make the game easy for me for sure. Yeah.
Up front on the left side, Dom.
Dom Amori, Hartford Current. Adama, when you came out of the game for the last time, do you remember what did you say to Coach or what he said to you? It looked like you guys had a little exchange there.
he asked me what I'm doing. I didn't even, I forgot to give him a hug. I mean, it's because a lot of people, he said, you should celebrate this right now, because a lot of team want to be here right now. So I was being able to play Monday night. He said, you give me a hug for that. Yeah.
Continue with questions for the student athletes from UConn. Let's get a microphone to Zach in the center of the room. Go ahead, Zach.
Zach Braziller, New York Post. Jordan, you guys are beating teams by an average of 20.6 points per game. What do you think has happened for you guys in this tournament where it seems like you've gone up another level?
It all starts with the defense. On the defensive end, we've been very, very elite, taking away matchups, rebounding the ball, getting out in transition, playing to our strengths. So I think that's the biggest difference we've been doing from other teams.
We're looking for the next question for Jordan, Adama, or Tristan. If you have one, please raise your hand. All the way in the back to the left of the aisle, there's Aaron.
Aaron Torres, Fox Sports. I'll just ask since somebody is. Jordan, how you feeling? How did you feel all day? And is there any reason to be concerned that you would not be available on Monday?
I feel great. No reason to be concerned on Monday.
Next question for the student athletes up front, center.
Hi, I'm An Kidwai with SB Nation. This is for Tristan Newton. Just wondering, with Andre Jackson getting into foul trouble, what you thought about how you guys had to approach defending, for the rest of that first half.
Obviously, Andre is one of the best defenders, not even on our team, but in the nation. So Juan's a really good player, so we just got in the gaps. That was the game plan the whole time, get in the gaps and force him to shoot tough shots.
Next question's up front on the left side, Mike.
This is Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. This is for Adama. You've played a lot of really good big guys in the league and out. What problems did Omer pose for you, and how were you able to be as successful as you were?
Yeah, coming to a game, definitely, I know it was a good defense, it was a good defender, as a big man, and I know it was a little bit undersized, and I used that against me a little bit by docking him in, most of my point was I docked him in a couple of times because I know it was undersized, so I used I used undersized against him. Yeah.
Continuing with questions for UConn student athletes on the left.
Tristan over here, Austin Tark, East Village Times. What was it like coming onto the court right away, just with the drama from the game before ending between SDSU and FAU?
I don't think that game affected us at all, honestly, because we was in our own bubble, focusing on what we got to do for our game. So that game didn't affect us at all. We was just focused on executing the game plan and coming out with a dub so we could play whoever won on Monday.
All the way in the back of the room, just to the right of the aisle, please raise your hand.
Adama, right here.
Sure.
What's it like being one win away from a national championship?
Definitely mean a lot, because like I said, there's a lot of teams that wanna play Monday, so it means a lot to us. It means everything we work for during the season, it pay off right now. We just gotta keep going and stay locking and be ready to go Monday night. Yeah.
We have time for one more question for the UConn student athletes. If you have one, raise your hand. With no more questions, we'd like to thank and congratulate Jordan, Adama, and Tristan. They're going to head back to the locker room. Locker room should be open until about 11 p.m. even, and the Miami locker room should be open for student athlete questions until about then as well. Questions for Coach Hurley. Let's start on the left side, just to the right of the aisle. We have two there. Let's go to Dana first.
Dan O'Neill with The Athletic. Dan, you talked a little bit yesterday about trust and trusting this team. It got down to 8 and felt a little hairy. You did not call a timeout. It got down to 10 again. You didn't call a timeout. Where is that about the trust? And maybe, 3 months ago, was that a different situation for you?
Yeah, I just think, obviously the group has shown their quality so many times in terms of the level that we could play at. And I just think we experienced everything in that month of January. And it's a battle-tested team, and you obviously, I was comfortable, with the things we were calling, and the guys were able to manage the situation.
Coach, stay in that same area, one row up.
Brendan Quinn, also with The Athletic. Dan,
guys are dominating the press office.
with Adama, There was points in the game where when Andre was out, he was pointing out guys' positions, calling out plays. I wonder if you can just kind of speak to the development of his just understanding of the game and his communication and just that progress that you've seen.
Yeah, he's come such a long way, Brendan, and he reclassed up. So he's a younger player, than the junior that he is. He's grown so much, his knowledge of the game. Obviously, him and Andre are the two leaders of the team. Andre's the vocal leader, Adama, and the emotional leader, and then Adama's the by example guy. But for a guy that's only been playing basketball 6 years, he's a sponge. His work ethic is off the charts, and so he watches tons of film, and he's learned a lot of basketball concepts, which is tough for international players that don't have the experience, especially guy coming from Mali.
Center of the room. This question is for Zach.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. Dan, I asked you guys this: 20.6 points per game average. You guys have made it look easy. Why do you think you have been so dominant?
I just think that when we're doing, when we're playing harder than the other team, which is our calling card, going like +9 on the glass, playing elite defense, and then having a lot of answers on offense. There's nowhere where we're weak as a team, and we're deep. So, we're able to kind of, body blow our opponent and continue to just put together quality possessions at both ends and the backboard, and it has a cumulative effect, and it's been able to break opponents. And we are a unique team in terms of our style of play, which hurts you in conference play because people are a lot more familiar. They see you twice. Games are much more physical. So when people see us for the first time with the 2 centers and all the shooting, and then there's no real players like Andre Jackson in the country. He's so hard to prepare for. So we're a unique team.
Center of the room, coach, about 5 rows back, right behind you, right there. Thank you.
Hi there, Coach. Jake Fenner, Daily Mail. There was one point in the first half, right around the 7:40 media timeout. Miami had come back. They had tied the game. Coming out of that timeout, your team looked a lot more coherent on offense. They looked more dominant on defense. Was there anything that you said to them at that timeout that kind of tied it all together?
Yeah, we needed to put more pressure on the paint. I thought we had a little bit of fool's gold to start the game. I mean, no matter what Kamani Young and Luke Murray tell you, it was not their idea to have Adama make 2 threes to start the game in a stadium. So I just thought that we were shooting maybe a little bit. It was fool's gold. We weren't doing enough at the paint, but we were guarding. But then we were losing our defensive intensity. Some of that had to do with Andre, being missing pretty much the whole first half. But I just thought the start to the game offensively was a little bit of fool's gold. We needed to do more at the paint, and then we need to get our defensive edge back. And they were all over the offensive glass, which usually doesn't happen to us.
In the 3rd row, center.
Hi, Coach. Hayden Silly with Cronkite News. There were reports about
Arizona State?
Yes.
All right.
Speaking of which, your brother spoke to the media on Tuesday, and he was raving about you and just what you've been doing this season. He even said, he feels like he's living this with you, and just how it makes him feel so good with what you've been able to do with this program this season. What's it like just to have the support of your big brother, especially, during possibly one of the biggest moments of your career?
Yeah, I mean, you and your big brother should be best friends, and you should love each other and support each other in every possible way. Our relationship, I would say when we were younger, it was a sibling rivalry that evolved to, each other's, greatest supporters, outside of our wives and our sons. And then obviously I'm lucky to have my dad and mom and my wife's family. So, but yeah, I mean, it means everything to me. He's gotten in early to got early to Vegas so he could see me the night before, and he got here early so he could see me last night. We were just, you couldn't be closer.
Next question is probably the final question, just to the right of the aisle.
Yeah, Dan, Kurt Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. You got a talented transfer in Tristan, and San Diego State has several like Matt Bradley. Has the transfer portal just changed college basketball forever, and has it helped maybe lower profile teams maybe advance deeper in the tournament?
Yeah, it's weird, I guess. We're not paying much attention to it, but obviously we saw some high profile players today, go in the portal on Twitter, and, I think, who knows where this thing's going to go. For us, I don't ever want a kid to pick my school because we matched an NIL offer or we gave the best offer. I want kids to come to UConn because they want to play for me, and then obviously, you hope that they could take the best possible advantage of NIL. But yeah, times are changing, and it'll be interesting to see whether people still do it regular, kind of the way that we've done it. We don't have a player on our team that is at UConn because of NIL, and we don't. We're still going to do it with high-level high school recruits that we're going to develop over the course of time, and supplement those guys with, with transfers out of the portal that make sense for our culture and the way that we run our program, which is more old school.
We want to thank and congratulate Coach Hurley.
Thank you, guys.
Coach, we'll see you back here again tomorrow.
And that was press conferences from both San Diego State and UConn that you heard, as San Diego State won one of the all-timers. As you all saw this weekend, San Diego State winning 72-71, buzzer beater for the Aztecs, as they were able to get that win after really trailing for the majority of the game. But Lamont Butler, the junior from Moreno Valley, California, broke a lot of Reggie Miller's scoring records in high school. He hits a shot with its time's expiring to lead San Diego State, the 5 seed, 72-71, who eliminated Alabama over Dusty May's gutsy FAU team. It ended the just unbelievable postseason run for Conference USA, who would have been trying to win the CBI, the NIT. Charlotte wins the CBI. The NIT, of course, goes to North Texas, and then the NCAA tournament. But what a run for FAU as the 9 seed. Could have been the lowest seeded team to ever win the NCAA tournament. But they go home. San Diego State, Brian Dutcher, his first Final Four, his first national championship game, trying to become the first Mountain West Conference team to win it all, 32-6. But they are facing the juggernaut known as UConn, 72-59. UConn, the winner over Miami, very impressively, and they have run roughshod over this field. The Miami game was their closest to the tournament. It was a 13-point win for Coach Dan Hurley and squad. They were led by Adama Sanogo, who is tremendous in the game, and just so much offensive balance for UConn. But they're a tremendous basketball team, no doubt about it. And, of course, this is the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared on this Monday. And we wanted to also clue you in on our newest sponsor, that we wouldn't be possible without their support of our great program and the Recruiting Blitz. And, again, we've been going strong as a streaming channel since late July, and it's one of my favorite places. I've had a long-time account there, but Alumni Hall is now sponsoring us. And Alumni Hall is, of course, at 300 Bridge Street, part of the Bridge Street Town Center, just down from the Apple Store. If you need Alabama or Auburn gear of any kind, please visit our sponsors at Alumni Hall. They have amazing stuff. Of course, Easter's coming up. If you guys need some Easter presents for your friends and family, you can certainly give Alumni Hall a call or visit them. They also have an outstanding website, alumnihall.com, where you can order things if you'd like to order them. They have a couple of different plans. You can do UPS, which is a little bit more expensive, which is next day, or you can do economy mail, which is, of course, postal service, which is a little bit less expensive. But, of course, you can go to locations in Tuscaloosa, but especially you can go to the location here at the Bridge Street Town Center here if you need any Alabama or Auburn gear. The store in Tuscaloosa is Alabama-centric, of course, but the one here, whether you're an Alabama fan or you're Auburn, split right down the middle. Please go see our friends at Alumni Hall, as there's a baseball series coming up in a couple of weeks. Alabama going to be hosting Auburn, so there'll be a lot of folks attending that. If you need your Alabama and your Auburn baseball gear or any other stuff, is with the 8A game coming up for Auburn on Saturday, and then in 2 weeks from that Saturday in Tuscaloosa. Everybody gear up for your 8A games with Alumni Hall, and we really appreciate their sponsorship. But we also need to take a break here on the Recruiting Blitz. When we come back, Rocco Miller, the Bracketeer.org, is set to join us, and we're going to preview tonight's national championship game as he will join us live from Houston here next on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
New name, new players, and an even better championship experience. This April, the Korn Ferry Tour returns to the Rocket City for the 2023 Hometown Lenders Championship at the Ledges. Experience the beauty and drama of the Ledges in person as golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. From the first man on the green to the roar of the crowd when the final putt drops. Be part of every moment of the Hometown Lenders Championship at the Ledges from April 24th through April 30th. Tickets to be a part of the action are on sale now at htlchamp.com.
Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared, Drew DeArmond, and about 8:20 tonight, Central Time anyway, it will be a milestone broadcast, first of all, because the great Jim Nance, this will be his final call of the NCAA tournament in this championship game with Grant Hill and Bill Raftery. They will bring you San Diego State and UConn. He's been doing this for so many years, and such a smooth delivery, so many great calls. He, of course, had the San Diego State miracle, as he called it, this past Saturday night in Game 1 when Lamont Butler hit the buzzer beater to beat a Florida Atlantic in a classic Final Four game. No doubt about it. Our next guest is, of course, based out of San Francisco in California, but he's been in Houston taking in the Final Four. He does a great job as a college hoops bracketologist. He spent several days in Houston, and I know he's very interested in following this final. When he joined us last week, he told us of a lot of intricacies about this FAU program in Dusty May. Dusty May now agreeing to a long-term contract to stay there. That entire team nearly, except for one senior, slated to return. We'll see if that holds true. Of course, with the transfer portal and NIL, things can get very interesting. But he told us how good FAU was, and for much of the game, it looked like FAU's run was going to continue and they were going to play for the national championship. But just a tough, gutty San Diego State team. They came back from a 14-point deficit to win the basketball game, 72-71, and now they will play the Goliath that has been UConn since this tournament has started. And we're going to break it all down right now with Rocco Miller. Rocco, welcome back to the show this morning. You're on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline with Drew DeArmond. How are you?
I'm doing great, Drew. It's been a phenomenal week, honestly. I am gutted for FAU specifically, but beyond that, San Diego State, this has been a 2-decade run where, they finally have broken through. They couldn't get past the Sweet 16 with a lot of great teams. I think the one that stands out is back when UConn broke their heart in the Kemba Walker run against Kawhi Leonard's team. And so now it's an opportunity for San Diego State to get some revenge from all those years ago.
Well, it is, and I noticed that UConn's about a 7.5-point favorite, but I warned people this morning on Talking Ball, though, don't underestimate San Diego State. They, especially considering you saw they trailed Alabama by 9 with a little under 12 minutes. They trailed for the majority of this game. They trailed by 7 at halftime. They gave up 40.5, which is not usually their MO. And then they were trailing by 14 at one point in the second half and rallied in this game. So I don't think you ever underestimate San Diego State because they just keep chopping wood. They keep bodying you up. And they are a team that physically should be able to match up with UConn.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that's the MO of the San Diego State program. It's really carried through with flying colors this year, especially on this run. You know, up until the FAU game, I think it was well documented that nobody could shoot over 15 or 20% from three, which included, 4 elite offenses, really. Alabama being at the top of that list, Creighton being an extremely good offense, and then even all programs in College of Charleston and Furman are very offensive in nature. Those are 2 very great offenses at the mid-major level. San Diego State had a ton of success shutting down all 4 of those for different reasons. One of the main reasons that carries over from game to game is their elite ball pressure at the backcourt level. And UConn, they've done a great job throughout the tournament of creating just a ton of mismatches. If you decide to double Sunogo in the post, eventually somebody else is going to be open. They do a really good job swinging the ball around and using elite spacing. They like to set up their offense a little bit higher up, just across the whole half-court line. So I think San Diego State, at some point, if they don't come out this way, they're going to have to make this move. They're going to have to bring that ball pressure pretty high up the floor at least a half-court level. So I'm fascinated by that because, Florida Atlantic was able to create a ton of good looks against this SDSU defense by pushing the ball forward as many times as they could. They basically created angles using tempo before San Diego State could get totally set up with what they want to do. On top of all that backcourt ball pressure, they have Nathan Mensah, who's arguably the best defensive big in the country. So keeping him out of foul trouble throughout the night will definitely be a recipe for them to be able to pull this off if they are going to pull it off. But in general, you're right. They could get down early. If they get down again like they did against FAU, they're not going to go away. They're going to keep fighting. And I think, they do need a little bit of a perfect storm to be able to win the game. But that, to me, is kind of where the game starts and stops, is how they're going to defend that spacing, how are they going to trust Mensah one-on-one with Sunogo. If they can do that and he stays out of foul trouble, I think that's a way to keep UConn off the scoreboard. They want to keep this game in the 50s or the low 60s, if possible.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said it's got to be in the 60s. No doubt about it. Of course, it was for a while there. I thought the pace was going to get up to the mid 70s and 80s with FAU and San Diego State, and that favored FAU to me. I thought they were going to find a way to win it. And if you told me before the game they were going to make 9 threes and shoot in the 40th percentile, I would have thought FAU was definitely going to win the game. But then you look on the other side of the coin. We know San Diego State's not a good shooting team, but they went 9 of 18 in their own right, and then got a bunch of huge offensive rebounds down the stretch, which really hurt the Owls.
Yeah, throughout Mississippi, they were running a little bit of a scheme where they basically had their 2 guys on the block to rebound switch. Film breakdown on how they did that, but it worked tremendously well to create rebounding angles and create those extra possessions, which made all the difference in the world. So I just don't think, from a size standpoint, they're going to have as much success offensive rebounding against UConn. I think UConn's, unless Calcaterra's in the game, UConn's backcourt is 6'5" and bigger, and so their guards can rebound. And then obviously we know about UConn's bigs. And when Klingling comes in, he's 7'2". Otherwise, you have Karabon, who's a big 6'8", and Sunogo, who's a beast. So this team it's got a big size advantage, in my opinion, the UConn team. And I think Jackson's going to give them a lot of trouble as well, just in terms of his mid-range ability. And, I think his flu situation is under control. If he still has the flu, it didn't show on the other night. Maybe he was able to take it easy because they got a big lead and feel more comfortable. Perhaps he gets a little bit more irritated tonight with San Diego State's defensive pressure. But yeah, I just don't think the rebounding is going to be quite as successful for San Diego State tonight, just breaking down the numbers and just knowing how big and long UConn is compared to Florida Atlantic.
Well, and you followed the tournament as close as anyone, Rocco. I mean, this is – and I even went back and looked at the 2012 Kentucky run, the last SEC team to win it. Their 2 Final Four wins were by 8. They had 4 double-digit wins before that. But, I mean, UConn's closest game was against Miami, and they kept Miami at arm's length the entire game. This has been as dominant a run through, 5 games as we've seen in a long time.
It really has. I mean, I'm pretty blown away. This was the UConn team we saw, though, in the first 2 months.
Yeah.
When they went down to when they went up to Portland, and they beat Alabama by 15.
Sure
I think
did.
people down there remember that game. And Iowa State was a decent team. They crushed them, and Oregon was basically a road game for them. And we didn't know much about Oregon at the time, but everybody in November is still playing mostly at full strength, and I think Oregon was at full strength. They basically won a road game by 25 against a power team. So there were some early signs. They went down to Gainesville, Florida, and won by 21. So, I mean, they did a lot of impressive dominance. They hadn't – I think Nance has probably even said this himself. They haven't had a non-conference game within double digits yet. If you factor in all those November, December results combined with this NCAA tournament. But what does maybe concern me, and I think we talked about this last week, is if somehow, like San Diego State, obviously Miami wasn't able to do it, can get this thing down to 5 or less, it's just a situation they haven't seen since the Big East tournament, where they did have a really good lead against Marquette, and they ended up losing that game late. It's the last time we saw them lose. So it just creates a whole lot of different scenarios when you're going possession to possession, segment to segment. And if you're the Aztecs, that's got to be the game plan. You just got to take it 1 4-minute stretch at a time and try to hang with them. But I could definitely see the UConn formula working well with, finding the open man early. San Diego State's going to have to adjust to how UConn likes to attack. It took them a long time to figure it out with Florida Atlantic, but they did. But if we get to that point where they start figuring it out, but they're already down by 20, it's going to be too late.
Well, and I asked this on the show this morning, and I'll run it by you because we saw it in 2010, 2011. Butler had back-to-back NCAA tournament championship game appearances. The last one was against the UConn team that beat them, and they nearly beat Duke in 2010. Is it a similarity with this San Diego State program and Butler, or is it Butler just sort of seemed to come out of not nowhere? I mean, everybody knew they were good, but I don't know that anyone saw them making back-to-back NCAA tournament championship game appearances. San Diego State, as you've been rightfully pointing out, for 20 years has been good, starting under Steve Fisher and now passing it off to Coach Dutcher. But is there any similarities between the runs of the two schools that are considered mid-majors?
I would say Butler would be more similar to Florida Atlantic just from the standpoint of you look back on that Butler team and they had a lot of talent. Shelvin Mack was a great player. That year they did not have Hayward, but they had Matt Howard, who was an awesome center, inside-outside player. Van Zant was a good player. I mean, they had some good offensive weapons, but they didn't have an elite defense. They were pretty balanced around the top 40, both offense and defense, that Butler team, which is similar to Florida Atlantic from that standpoint. A lot of just quality players. And in that championship game that we all remember being really ugly, I think it was 53-41 in the final score. So let's not hope for that tonight. But I think what we saw there was just some really poor shooting, and maybe their legs got to them a little bit that night. It was just an ugly game all across the board, and UConn did what it took to win, and then they milked the clock late. So I don't think there's a lot of similarities with San Diego State. That what they have is they do have a team that goes through droughts. Luckily, it didn't hit them too bad against Florida Atlantic. They had a drought or two, like late first half, early second half, when the league got up to 14. But I've seen games this year where San Diego State just goes extremely cold for long stretches. Mm-hmm. They lost a home game to New Mexico that surprised a lot of people, where they lost by 9 points pretty convincingly, and they just, even in their home building, couldn't shoot. So if that monster sneaks up again tonight, sadly for all of us, we won't see that good of a game, especially if it happens multiple times. But I would expect them to be really confident and kind of feel like they're playing with house money a little bit, knowing that Florida Atlantic maybe could have had that game put away well before that game winner. So if they kind of realize that about themselves and just play loose tonight, that's That's going to help them a lot. And if they can set the tone early somehow, we're probably in for a really good game.
So what does your gut tell you? I know when I talked to you last week, you still felt like UConn was the favorite going into this. Do you like UConn tonight? And if San Diego State pulls the upset, what have they got to do?
Yeah, so I would just say there's a better percentage that UConn can just run away with the game. My gut prediction says that's probably the outcome we're going to see. But if San Diego State can, like I said, if they can keep the game close, they got to avoid those long streaks where they can't shoot or score. The ball pressure situation, like I mentioned earlier, is a big key for them. They've got to be able to disrupt UConn and disrupt Jackson's really important too, because he's an elite cutter, he's an elite playmaker. He can beat you in the mid-range. And if there are any openings in the San Diego State, at least the half-court defense, you got to do it in the mid-range, and he's the right guy to do that. That's what New Mexico had with Mashburn. Mashburn was able to expose that earlier this year in Mountain West play. And I think, in general, they have to really make the possession game lower. They want a low possession game, so that's going to mean, using the clock effectively and being smart. If they can force turnovers, I actually think the Aztecs are going to win the turnover battle. I don't really think UConn can win the turnover battle unless because San Diego State's really solid with the ball. They had very few turnovers against Florida Atlantic. They've had very few turnovers throughout the tournament. That's going to help them hang around. And I think, that there are times where UConn has lost this year where the ball handling got shaky. And that's a chance, if they can really dominate the turnover battle and create some points off steals and things of that nature, that could really make a difference and give them a real chance to win this thing.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting game tonight, no doubt. As we said, the great Jim Nance's last game on the call with Grant Hill, and, of course, the great Bill Raftery and Tracy Wolfson. We appreciate your time. We know you've had a great time in Houston. We're glad that your phone issues are resolved. I mean, that's always crucial when you're in the business you're in, man. But we appreciate all the analysis and enjoy the game and let everybody know how to follow you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Drew. It's been a hell of a week. Saw a lot of people. Just a great time down there. And I'd recommend anybody to go to the Final Four in any year you can, because it's actually just a celebration of the sport for most of us.
Right.
To all get together in the same city. You can follow me at Rocco Miller 8 is my Twitter handle. I'll be all over the portal from now on, probably for the next 6 weeks, as we have a lot of movement coming, probably even starting today. And then also here locally where I live, we're going to be introducing Mark Madsen as the new Cal head coach at 1 o'clock Pacific time. So I'm going to be there asking questions. So if you're interested in that, it's a pretty fascinating hire, I think. So we'll see how that goes. And then, of course, I'll be providing a lot of schedule updates as we go along and finish off, putting some great games together for next season.
No doubt. Love the Mad Dog. Just like Mike Montgomery, his old coach, man, ends up on the other side of the rivalry as well. So very interesting hire for Madsen. Appreciate it, man, and we look forward to talking with you down the road.
Sounds great, Drew. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good to catch up.
Yes, sir. That's Rocco Miller. We're going to go on a break. We're going to wrap up this Monday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared.
The Blitz has been called. The battle for a 6th straight division crown starts right now, and the East already knows don't sleep on the Atlanta Braves.
Next pitch to Riley. Swung on, hammered to deep center. He's at the track, he's at the wall. Home run!
Tonight, the Braves season opening road trip rolls on from Busch Stadium in St. Louis as Atlanta faces off with the Cardinals. Braves Radio goes on the air at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network. The battle for a 6th straight division crown starts right now, and the East already knows don't sleep on the Atlanta Braves.
Next pitch to Riley. Swung on, hammered to deep center. He's at the track, he's at the wall. Home run!
Tonight, the Braves season opening road trip rolls on from Busch Stadium in St. Louis as Atlanta faces off with the Cardinals. Braves Radio goes on the air at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network. The Atlanta Braves are back, and this 2023 team is ready for another epic season.
1-1 pitch. There's a deep drive to left center field. This thing is clear for takeoff. Back
Back-to-back home runs, Ozuna and Riley. 2-1 pitch. There's a missile. Deep right, back towards the corner. Damage done by Matt Olson.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Welcome back as we wrap up this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. Don't forget later on this afternoon, the Afternoon Blitz with the Bandyman Bailey Lowry, Captain Cool, John Abraham from 2 to 4. And don't forget to download our app, please, at the Google Store, the Apple Store, the Blitz Sports Radio app. And it's now presented to you, the Recruiting Blitz, by Alumni Hall, our good friends over at the Bridge Street Town Center. For all of your Alabama and Auburn needs, please go and give our friends a look over at Alumni Hall. They will not disappoint. They have anything you need for your tailgate, the gear, and that's from head to toe, including shoes. Everything over at Alumni Hall. So please check out Alumni Hall. They are the source for your Alabama and Auburn gear in the city of Huntsville. Nowhere better than Alumni Hall. And don't forget their website as well, alumnihall.com. They have everything available on their website as well, an outstanding one, so you can take a look at their inventory. But then go over to the Bridge Street Town Center and check them out at Alumni Hall, and we appreciate their sponsorship, no doubt, of the Recruiting Blitz. But also, as we said, please download our app. Also download our 97.7 The Zone app if you have not. Going to be a lot of great programming on this week. And, of course, you're going to have Hey Coach coming up as well with coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. So that'll be exciting as we are the home for Alabama athletics at 97.7 The Zone. But everybody stay dry. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll be back with you at 9 a.m. And, again, don't forget the Afternoon Blitz today from 2 to 4. The Bandyman and Captain Cool, John Abraham. Have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.